Hello everybody and welcome back to Tome Raider. Back to regular Tome Raider, not just Tome Raider Classic, which we moved Sherlock Holmes to, and something a little different this week. I'm Ollie, I'm here with Dan. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. That's not the different thing this week. It is still just the two of us.
Yep, as it usually is.
Yes,
And
this is
the
the
audio
way.
works. This is the way. and
Excellent.
this week we read the first of the Animorphs books, which I read a couple of in school because like three of them, not in order, were in the classroom reading box, and I happened to pick the first one up one day, uh, and I didn't really think to pick them up again until I got a Kindle this year, and so I've read about 10 of them. They're surprisingly good for the kids' books that they are. Well, I say surprisingly good. They're the kind of for kids in the way that the Animals of Farthing Wood was for kids. The sort of kids' version of Damn Nature You Scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was my impression of them, and I've been badgering Dan to start reading them with me for this series for a bit now, and we finally did. Uh,
Yes. Yes, we did that, and
yeah.
so is the only way I'm going to get you to watch certain TV shows going to be reviving the show you did with Seb, but me taking over?
Possibly. I mean, I'm open to that, but yeah. Right. So, Dan, as it was your first time reading it, well, first a bit of context. Animorphs is your classic five-person band sort of series. There are five principal characters in the first book. There's the leader, their sort of sidekick slash foil. There's the sensitive one, the girl, although there are two girls in this one, and the smart one, typically. You know, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle makeup kind of thing. That would be another example.
Yeah, the five of them are. Let's see if I can remember this. Jake, Marco, Tobias, Rachel, and Cassie. Not
Hey,
necessarily in the order of their roles. Actually, I think it might actually have been near enough in the order of their roles.
yeah,
Because
yeah. Each book is from a different character's perspective. They sort of rotate. Book one is about Jake, who is sort of the reluctant leader figure of this whole thing. And so, yeah. Sorry, go on.
He's reluctantly the leader, but he's not reluctant to be in the fight. Right?
At least not for long.
Unlike Marco, who until basically the last three chapters is just like, no, can we just pretend this didn't happen? That we don't know that this is going on.
Yeah. The problem with that is Jake has, at that point, just learned that they plan to either put a brain slug in him or kill him. So he doesn't have the option of pretending it didn't happen. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself there. Dan, as a first-time reader, what did you think of Animorphs: The Invasion?
It was interesting. Some of the names that in this for like species or characters are just ridiculous, as it were.
Yeah, there are, I think, for context, there's Yerks, which are the brain slugs, Hawk Bajir, which is the big tall fuckers made of knives. Not made of knives, they have a lot of blades on their body. And Andalites, which are the good ones, and Taxons, which are the big centipede fuckers.
Yeah, but then there's also like the names, because the Andalite we meet is Elfangor Sinistra.
I've read this book like 3 or 4 times, I still can't remember it. Elfangor Surini Shamtool or something? I can't remember. I've read this book several times. that name just doesn't stick in my head, so I get it.
It's just sort of like that. The ships are a lot easier to remember the names of because they are Blade Ship and Bug Fighters.
Yeah,
And there's also the mention of a sphere ship as well.
yeah,
So it's just sort of, they take this from almost a Borg perspective. This thing is shaped like Blade, ergo Blade Ship. This is Cube. This terrifies people when it arrives because we are the Borg.
yeah.
Yeah.
And well,
Yes, but
the villainous Yeerks are parasitic slugs, parasitic grey slugs that go in through the ear and wrap around your brain and control you. And there are already many of them on Earth before the story has even started.
yeah,
But you never know
the,
who they are because they could be anyone you know, and you could be next.
Yeah. The beings who are controlled by the Yerks are species controller. So it's like if it's a human, it's a human controller,
Yeah,
etc., etc. So yeah, it's they do it like that to sort of differentiate between the various ones.
yeah. So our 5 unlikely allies are sort of loosely connected to in the beginning, but like with the exception of Jake, Marker, well, basically everyone but Tobias is more than a casual acquaintance, and Tobias is like the recent sort of adopted misfit of the group.
Yeah, well, this is how I was looking at it. Marco is Jake's best friend. Tobias is the one who's imprinted onto Jake because Jake was kind to them once. Rachel is Jake's cousin, and Cassie is Jake's crush.
Yeah,
basically they're all connected to Jake in some ways, but
Yeah.
not necessarily as much to each other.
Which is why I think it makes the most sense that Jake was the first like point of view book.
Which is why I think it was chosen.
Yeah.
The
books are written
like
in
that.
first person from the perspective of a different character each time.
Yeah, but they're also written as if everything that's happened in is almost like a memoir rather than sort of like in first person past rather than first person present.
Yeah.
But it also slips sometimes into, or it feels like it slips sometimes into first person present.
Yeah. And
but,
okay, so these 5 kids, loosely connected, they all end up walking home together, and they decide
from the mall.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going from the mall. How 90s of them.
Yeah, this is an incredibly 90s series of books, which makes sense because that's when they were written and published.
Yeah, there was actually a commentary on the fact that one of them has a Sega home system and the other prefers a PlayStation home system. And thinking like going on in the series because I looked up a couple of bits of trivia around it just for some random things to go. Can I spot this when going through? No spoilers, so I'm still going ahead with not knowing a lot of what's going to happen, even in the next book. But yeah, so it's very 90s.
I like that about it. I find that nostalgic.
Yeah, there's never a moment where them having a mobile phone would solve a problem. We know the answers to why they don't use the mobile phone to solve the problem is they're not going to have one on average.
Yeah, like, I mean, widespread use of mobile phones wasn't really a thing until at least the mid-2000s.
Yeah. And indeed,
at least in my experience.
Yeah. There were still some people holding out at the time which this book came out, which is actually 30 years ago this month. It was published in June 96.
Really?
This book.
I did
Yeah,
not know
no,
that. That is a staggering coincidence. I mean, I'm going to re-upload this on the Facebook page of the 30th anniversary thing. Yeah,
yeah, complete and utter coincidence for
yeah.
this one.
No, it actually was. I've
Uh,
been badgering you to read these with me for a while.
yeah, probably around the time we actually started back up before we started back up,
Yeah,
we brought the idea of doing the May the 4th special, which
yeah,
then became the Revenge of the Sith special because that felt more appropriate.
yeah, because we were doing Revenge of the Sith, the novelization.
Yeah,
So,
yes,
is
but
this about people who turn into animals? That sounds Kafkaesque to me. There is a scene in a future book where one of the characters turns into a cockroach.
mm,
Yeah. Okay. So these 5 kids walk home from the mall because it's 1996, and they take a shortcut through a construction site, and happen across a an alien spaceship that happens to be landing. And out comes,
as you do.
yeah, as you do. Like, I mean, whomst among us 90s kids hasn't?
Yeah. Yeah, well, these are 90s teens, we must remember, because they are young teenagers at this point.
Yeah, and
Like, yeah, like to sort of show it, Jake comments about how, like, before this happened, the biggest worry he had at the time was telling his older brother that he didn't make the basketball team, unlike what his brother had done when he was younger, because he was trying to get the same spot his brother had had.
Yeah.
And it's like it's worrying about that. It meets up with them. They go into that, and it's like, alien spaceship coming towards us.
yeah. Now, Tobias, the nerd of the group, if you need a reference, the Donatello, I believe, would be the accurate one.
I know so little about Ninja Turtles, I could not tell you.
Well, there must be another 5-man band we can reference, because I don't know much about them either. But, yeah, so he is one of them a turtle. That hasn't... I mean, I'm 10 books in, and I'm not sure that whether or not anyone has become a turtle yet. They might have. I might be forgetting.
There is 56 books in the series.
Yeah.
So 10 books in doesn't cover a fifth of it yet. So,
yeah. They are very short books, though. Like, for reference, the audiobook is 3 hours long.
Yeah, it is roughly the same amount as listening as for the 3 short Sherlock Holmes stories.
Yeah, and that's why I thought this was a good thing to alternate them with.
Yeah, but so this alien spaceship is landing, and they're worried, and one of them, I think it's Marco, goes up once it's landed, and basically yells, "We mean you no harm."
No, that was Tobias. Marco's the one that keeps saying how insane everything is.
Yeah, I was just thinking that he was the one that did that, and then immediately chickened out after things got real.
Oh, yeah. I think I might have forgot that bit.
One of them, Marco or Tobias, yells out, "We mean you no harm."
Yeah.
It was one of those two, not Jake, not girls.
Now, Andalites don't have mouths, they communicate telepathically, so they hear in their heads the words, like when Tobias says, "We won't hurt you," they hear the words, "I know," in their heads, which could be interpreted as reassurance or confidence. Like...
I will be honest, when that happened at the beginning, I was sure this was going to turn out to be the evil aliens at first, and then they get rescued afterwards. Especially with the audiobook, because it was so much deeper than everything else. It was just like, no,
Yeah.
gravel, evil, go old, almost.
Yeah. We won't hurt you. I know you're not capable. Now stand still while I kill you. Yeah, but no, fortunately that is not the case just yet. And out of the saucer steps an Andalite, which are described as if one crossed a human with a deer. like a deer centaur with horns and stalks on eyes and a scorpion tail.
Yeah, and no mouths.
And no mouths. Hence the telepathic communication. Seb says, "We mean you no harm. Why did they introduce the possibility of harm into a situation where there was none? We're not going to bundle you into a closet and steal your bikes." Oddly specific there, Seb.
That reminds me of sorry, this is an aside. Bit
Go ahead.
of law. There was a teacher who my dad was helping look over their cover letter for CV after they'd lost their job because they weren't passionate about the job. They were terrible at office politics. I.e., they pissed off everyone else in the department. So when it came time for redundancies, who was first on the list?
Yeah.
And the thing that pissed them off was actually the sheer passion they had for the subject. They were just very irritating about it. But they decided to put in their covering letter that they would let go of from their job, and it had nothing to do with being inappropriate with students. Which was true, but why would you introduce that thought into the equation?
Oh my god. Did they actually put that on there?
They put it on there before they sent it out to anyone, and it was removed before it was sent out to anyone.
That's like saying Jesus Christ. Like, I mean, you wouldn't say unprompted, "I promise I'm not racist," or anything like that. Like, that is assumed. Unless there is reason not to.
And also in that particular phrase, normally when you hear people saying, "I promise I'm not racist," is after they've just said something racist.
Yeah, usually.
Is it?
Oh.
Anyway, that was my random aside on the nature of why did you introduce the thought of harm into the situation?
Yeah. So, this alien gives them the 411, I believe is the phrase, of what's about to happen. They're about to be invaded by parasitic brain slugs, and but unfortunately, and he says, "You must warn your people." But they're a bunch of kids. Ain't nobody gonna believe them. So instead... Oh, go on.
It's the full invasion is coming. He'd actually come with a sphere ship of his people to stop them, the Yerks, because they thought the Yerks had only just scouted Earth and weren't actually thing. The truth of the matter is, the Yerks have already infiltrated the planet already. They are
there are probably several hundred of them in that city alone.
And there were ships waiting for the Andalites to arrive, and they destroyed the sphere ship. So he's just sort of like, well, fuck.
Yeah. In fact, the blade ship that took him down was hidden in a crater on the moon, I believe.
Yes. Yes. So he's injured. Cassie, he wants to help and sort of like is trying to.
Oh, I should have mentioned this alien is mortally wounded.
Yeah, and they are. So she's trying to help because she's the empathetic one who also loves animals.
Yeah, her parents are veterinarians, and she lives with a barn where she helps care for sick animals, which is going to come in very handy, like in this series.
As is also the fact that there is a park which is essentially a zoo with some rides attached to it on the side.
Yeah. No, Seb, it's not like the aliens were just really lazy. There's only one of them, and he's dying.
And he is the important bit is that we've sort of skipped over on that thing is he's also being pursued. Like he knows that at most he has 5 minutes before the Yerks land
and kill him
and kill him and vaporize his ship. Yep. And basically the entire building site. So
yeah. Not the building site yet, because they still like their numbers haven't grown yet to the point where they can cause that kind of a scene, so they do still have to keep things under wraps. But
Yeah,
the Andalite Prince Elfangor says that he might be able to give them a way to fight them, and he shares with
and
them Andalite technology, the power to acquire the DNA of any animal and morph into them, with the caveat that there is a 2-hour time limit on these morphs, and if you overstay that time limit, you will be trapped in whatever body you are in.
yes. Um, I just have the tiny annoyance I have with that is 2 hours is two of your Earth hours is just, oh, so the timing of this fits perfectly with this planet that is not your planet, that's a completely different rotation.
Yeah.
It would make more sense if it worked to a time scale, so they had to like keep track of a bizarre number of minutes, like you can only do 96 and a half
Yeah.
or something like that. I
Or
understand the
or
nature,
100
convenience.
glicks or something.
Yeah, I understand why it's written as like it fits perfectly to 2 Earth hours just for ease of convenience and stuff. But it's a thing that happens in writing that I get why it is. I'm just annoyed it has to be that way because the reader doesn't want to have to convert to something that isn't a round figure in their head.
Seb's asking, do any of the kids just decide that they'd rather be the animal for the rest of their lives? The possibility comes up numerous times because, alright, so just to introduce all the principal characters and antagonists, upon giving them the ability to morph and sort of telepathically projecting some information into their heads as to what they are dealing with,
Yeah,
the enemy lands and they hide. And out of the ships come some aliens called the Hawk-Bajir, which are like 7-foot tall snake people with swords for arms or something like that. They've got a lot of blades.
swords. Well, they're not. They have snake-like necks with with bulbous eyes on the end,
Yeah.
which
And
are terrible to actually see. But they have arms and legs, and there are blades instead of they have three-bladed claws,
yeah.
blades on their elbows, and blades on their knees.
Yeah.
And I think they also have bladed tails as well.
Hawk-Bajir.
So they are basically the knife snake.
Hawk-Bajir, Hawk-Bajir, it's Hawk Burger. Oh, Seb.
And then there's Paxons who are centipedes with who's like the front
Many
half
teeth.
is covered.
They're like they look like miniature. Well, I always pictured them like the dungeon worm from Yu-Gi-Oh with legs.
Yeah, they also have sort of almost like small lobster claws for like the top third of their body instead of legs. They have those,
Yeah.
and eyes all around. Then basically their lips and almost lamprey mouths is how it comes across to me.
Yeah.
Which is like Dungeon Worms in Yu-Gi-Oh. So they are clearly. I will give them credit. Their aliens are not basically humans, but with strange ridges on their faces, a la most species in Star Trek.
Yeah. That comes up occasionally in these books. Yeah.
And in Star Trek in '96, there was TNG had just ended. DS9 and Voyager were both going.
Yeah.
So Star Trek is a topical reference at the time, like it
Yeah.
is now, and like it has been for 60 years.
Indeed. So yeah, and out the blade ship that shot him down opens, and out steps another Andalite. Although this one is an Andalite controller, the only Andalite controller, and the Yerkinside is established to be known as Visser 3, who is basically the series antagonist.
Yeah, and unlike what it seems with the standard Andalites, he has deliberately gone out and sought out the most horrible creatures in the galaxy
Yeah.
to get their DNA. because we don't see Prince Elfangor transform at all.
Well,
Well,
it is later established, not in this book but in future books, that morphing is quite an exhausting thing to do. Like, you could maybe do it 2 or 3 times without needing a rest, and then you'd be, like, wiped out. And he's mortally wounded, so it's entirely possible he just doesn't have the strength.
yeah,
But,
yeah, but
it is also sometimes implied that Andalites prefer to use their own bodies in combat.
yeah, we do see Elfangor engage in combat in a brief bit. He's given more information to Tobias, who stayed a little longer with him after they told them all to run before the ships landed. So he has a bit more information, which comes up later.
Yeah. So, Visser 3 eats Prince Elfangor while killing him and ripping him apart. The kids panic and run. They are chased, but they somehow get away. But
yeah, a lot of them do. They're being chased by Hawk-Bajir, who we learn have incredibly bad eyesight for what their eyes are like.
In the dark, at least.
Yeah. Which allows Jake to escape. We don't know how the others actually escape, but we know that's how Jake's escaped, because he has bad eyesight, and Jake basically gets a homeless man killed.
Accidentally. He stumbles upon him while running from it, and...
Yeah, and he uses the Hawk-Bajir killing this man to make his getaway.
Yeah, which I can't imagine feels great. But and then the next day, he wants to believe it was all a bad dream, but then Tobias comes in and tells him he morphed into his cat Dude.
Yeah, very 90s cat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or a very Viking Doctor Who cat.
Yeah. So
I introduced the word dude a few centuries early.
So we get the first glimpse of morphing in this series, which is going to become progressively more body horror as the series goes on. Can they talk in animal form? They can speak telepathically in animal form, but only in animal form.
Yeah. Yeah, because when Visser 3 kills Elfangor, he transforms into a massive, horrifying creature with sort of tree trunk legs and a more like a sandworm of Arrakis.
So they can't fuck with people. They could. Alright, it's established that the thought speech that they can do in animal form can be heard by anyone they consciously direct their thoughts to. And indeed, they know what Visser 3 is thinking because he never bothers to, think about it. He just broadcasts his thoughts for all to hear because what does he have to be scared of?
Yeah, he is actively gloating when they first hear him, so he wants people to.
Yeah.
So he's basically going, everyone on this construction site can hear it, or everyone who's sort of with it, who he thinks is there. But it's just a distance. So they hear what he's saying. They're panicking because they think that means Visser 3 knows they're there, and Elfangor, with secured radio communication, tells them, no, that's not the case. He's just bragging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He remains remarkably calm and expository for someone who is currently being killed.
Yeah. Well, he does a lot of this in the bragging, and he does order his ship to destroy one of the bug ships parked next to it, and he does kill one, maybe two of the Hawk-Bajir because their tails can move faster than the eye can see, is I believe the description they went with.
Yeah.
Before he gets swarmed by Taxons, who... The Taxons are willing hosts to the Yeerks.
Oh yeah, that's an important bit of context. There are voluntary Yeerk hosts. The Taxons all are voluntary hosts, apparently. The Hawk-Bajir were apparently a decent, peaceful people that were forcibly enslaved by the Yeerks. And...
Yeah. The peaceful culture of the blade snakes.
Yeah. I mean, don't judge a book by its movie. I mean, its cover. um, yeah, but yeah, there are also voluntary human Yeerk hosts, as will become known later. Now, a thing that they learn that is important to know is that Yeerks can't subsist on the food that their hosts eat. They need to leave their host body and go to a Yeerk pool and absorb what's called Kandrona rays, which is sort of like nutrients from their home planet, every 3 days.
Yeah. This is the information that the extra information Tobias gets by staying closer to Prince Elfangor for those few seconds longer.
Now, it is.
I will be.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I will be honest. Until sort of about halfway through the book, I was convinced Tobias was going to turn out to already be Yeerked, but they would free him from the influence of the Yeerk.
Yeah. No, I can see why you'd think that. It didn't occur to me, but I can see why you'd think that.
Yeah.
Mind you, I first read this like at school, and I already knew he wasn't.
Yeah, because it's sort of like he's sort of the bit of an outsider to the rest of the group, which seem to have some sort of closer connections, and he stayed longer with them with Elfangor, and seemed sort of the most determined. And then he had this information that none of the rest of them had.
Yeah, I can see why you would think that.
The one thing they notice just back on the running away, they hear human laughter as Elfangor is being eaten, and Jake is sure he recognizes what some of that laughter, and the voice that when the Hawk Bajir is chasing them, the human says to one of them, "Kill them, but bring me the head so we can identify them."
Yeah.
And sure he recognizes that voice.
Yeah. It later turns out that that voice belongs to his school's assistant principal, Chapman.
Yes. Yeah, so he
But it's also, and this is important to the plot, it's established that Jake and his brother have drifted apart a bit lately ever since his brother joined a group called The Sharing. 3 guesses what that is. And he is also very taken aback when his brother doesn't seem at all bothered by his failure to make the team, and even more so by the fact that his brother has quit this team because sports were his life up till that point.
It's particularly basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should mention this isn't set in America, so there will be some bits of 90s American culture that may come up that we are a bit more clueless about than...
For we are British.
Yes. Yes, and we also advocate on Sundays to stab the British in assassination games.
Well, not specifically in a while, because the villains haven't been British for a bit, but...
No, not since the Dartmoor level of Hitman.
No. And unfortunately, well, I don't know why I said unfortunately. The villains of Ghost of Yotei, which we're playing at the moment, are not British.
Yeah, but anyway, so where were we? Oh yeah, Tobias had just had morphed into his cat dude at home, and he's come to Jake to prove it, and he morphs in Jake's room, and then that's how they discover that they have telepathy while in morph form, because Jake can hear Tobias when he's doing it.
Yeah, that's not all they have in morph form, though, because Tobias suddenly wants to chase strings around. When it turns out that when you morph into an animal, that animal's mind is in there with you. And, you know, those instincts are become part of you, and you have to consciously make an effort to keep thinking like a human and keeping yourself on task.
Yes, which it does not prove easy, because Jake morphs into 3 different animals in this, if memory serves.
Yeah,
And
his dog Homer is the first one, and then I believe the lizard is the second one, where he ends up eating a spider.
Yeah, and we'll save the third one till later because it will add to the dramatics of the story later in the retelling.
Yeah.
So
we don't specifically aim for retellings on this show, but we end up doing them.
Yeah, well, I say in the retelling, it's sort of like it spoils a bit of the later thing. That would, I think, be a little more or interesting if we shared the whole go of that detail of it. But so when, for example, when he transforms into Homer, Jake, who does this immediately after, he has near enough the same mind as Homer, and he goes at one point, "There's a strange dog in my yard." Out the window.
That dog is Homer, and he's like, "That doesn't compute. I'm Homer." Wait, and he has to consciously remember, no, I'm Jake, and I'm in the body of Homer, or a copy of it.
Yeah. This is also what brings Tom into the story for the first time. Is to basically knocking on his brother's door, telling him to calm Homer down. Mum's on the phone, and that's when we get the first hint that things are not okay with Tom because there's a strange smell that he can't identify.
Something unsettling.
Yeah, but after this transforming and the conversation about things,
they go down to Cassie's barn after that, and meet up with, I think, Marco as well.
Yeah, Marco, Rachel, and Cassie. Basically, the whole group ends up there.
Yeah, and it turns out Cassie is really good. No, it's Rachel, isn't it, that is really good at morphing and morphs a horse.
No, that is Cassie.
No, it is Cassie. I got that wrong.
Yeah, and Cassie is also naturally very good at this because she's already figured out how to morph and keep some clothing on.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't mention that when you morph, you lose your clothes, but yeah, you will do because you're changing size.
Yeah, she mentions that has to be skin tight, because she tried it with a jacket and it just shredded the damn thing.
I am 10 books in. They have not yet figured out how to morph footwear.
Yeah. So
maybe they do later. I haven't got to a part where they do yet.
Yeah. So but Cassie has demonstrated that she can turn into a horse, but they very quickly. She demonstrates actually that she can partially morph because she spends part of it halfway between horse and human.
Yeah.
When she's explaining about it.
That is an uncommon degree of control over the ability.
Yeah. Note they've had this power for less than a day, and she's already at that level of control.
Probably 12 hours, if that.
Yeah. Well,
including the time it took to sleep.
Yeah. So it's going on, but she enters a panic state, like a horse is being scared because a police car is coming down the road to her farm.
Yeah, Seb just said something that I can actually imagine as an exchange in this series. We have to cross the river quickly. I'll morph into a frog. You, Scorpion, hop onto my back. You don't read many fables, do you? I can actually imagine that. That exchange hasn't happened yet, but I can imagine it.
Yeah.
That is sort of on brand for this series.
Yeah, but the police comes down and they're talking about it, and they have to hide Cassie while she transforms back into a human. And sort of behind them, and the police are sort of like, "What are you hiding there?" And by the time he gets them apart, she has thankfully turned back and is in a lycra leotard type thing.
Yeah.
So they're almost ending up down the Power Rangers route. Behold, the spandex-clad heroes.
Yeah. And well, they all talk about everything they've heard, and Marco is dead set against getting involved, and he tries to speak for everyone. I said, like, we decided we're not getting involved in this. It's like, no, we decided not to decide right away. You decided not to get involved.
The kids realise that the policeman was a controller and lie because he's looking for kids who set off fireworks in the old construction site.
Seb's asking, do they have to be very close to the animal to morph? No. They have to touch it once and, like, consciously acquire its DNA, but once they've done that, they have it, and they can morph into it any time.
Also, while the animal is being touched and the DNA acquired, not just sort of like it's just acquired through touch. It doesn't require anything more, like liquids or anything, before someone makes a comment on that, Seb.
Yeah.
It does put the animal into a bit of a trance while they're doing it.
Yeah, they sort of zone out for about a minute. Assumably it has to be living, like they couldn't access some organic material from a mammoth. I believe so. It isn't specified, but I think so. Or at least it hasn't been so far.
It's not stated in this book, certainly. And
But the policeman is really interested in finding out who those kids on the construction site were, and says that they'll just make up loads of lies if you find them. But you're too smart to believe that, right? Anyway, you should totally come to this thing, the sharing that your brother Tom's going to.
Yeah, he recognizes that Jake looks like Tom, so he does that.
Yeah, and like about 5 minutes later, Tom walks in on them playing video games, and says, "Hey, did you hear about those kids at the construction site? I'd really love to know who they are. Anyway, you should totally come to this sharing meeting tonight."
Yeah, and Marco is the one who realizes that Tom is a controller.
Yeah, he's like, dude, but they've got your brother. Jake is unwilling to couch this, and like they fight about it.
Yeah, indeed. Jake punches Marco more than once because of this Tom is a controller stuff.
Yeah, so they go to the sharing meeting to scout it out, and Jake morphs Homer again to spy on the full members, who it turns out are the Yerk hosts, and the partial members are potential Yerk hosts. They try to get you on board willingly because they like people resisting. Like, I don't think I've ever seen someone overpower the Yerk in their brain, but they can momentarily resist them, which can be inconvenient.
Yeah, it's at this point that it was between Tom asking if they'd like to go to the sharing and them actually going to it is when Tobias shares the information about the Yerk pools.
Yeah. Oh, and
it also revealed
he has acquired a red-tailed hawk form, which he is very fond of. He loves flying.
Yeah. Possibly we should put a tiny bit more information onto him and Marco, like their backstory that's revealed in this, because it is relevant for other outlets.
Yeah.
Tobias does not have a happy home life. His parents split up. He's basically been abandoned by them, and he goes back and forth between an aunt and an uncle across country.
Neither of which seem to care much for him.
Yeah, Duke seems to be about the only positive thing in his life before this,
Dude.
and the sense of freedom. Dude, yes, not Duke. Dude, and is just Jake standing up for him at one time because he was being bullied. So the sense of freedom he gets from being the red-tailed hawk, he morphs into that basically every opportunity he gets in this story.
And he actively says he hates going back to being human because it feels like going to jail or something similar.
Yeah, Whereas Marco is more cautious about this because his mum died of, I think, an illness. I want to say
No,
cancer.
his mum drowned. They never found her body,
Okay, yeah,
and
I
it
got mixed up.
destroyed his dad. His work life has suffered, and he had to change jobs, and he can barely support Marco now. So, like, the reason Marco is so reluctant to get involved isn't just fear, although I imagine there is plenty of that. It's like he actually says, if anything happens to me, that's gonna finish my dad off. Like, I've got to stay alive for him.
Yeah, yeah.
It
So
is his rationale for not wanting to get involved with this.
yeah, so he is so he doesn't want to do this, though. Even though he's the one who points out that Tom is a controller, and Tobias is all in. Rachel and Cassie are also leaning towards they've got to do this.
Yeah, because
It's,
well, they recognise that there is no running from it.
yeah, Tobias is the one who is most in at this point. Jake Jake feels a little on the fence at this point, but he needs to find out whether Tom is a controller or not, which is why they go to the sharing. And the behavior at the sharing is like volleyball on the beach, games, there's barbecue going on and stuff like that. It's a social thing for teens or young people. Oh, and he's just sort of like, oh, I was wrong. Tom can't be, isn't a controller and stuff like that. But Jake then goes, no, he is.
Yeah.
And then they actually do the proper investigating to confirm that.
Yeah, and the reason Jake knows he is because when Tom is talking to him, just for a second he stops speaking and his face suddenly looks like terrified, and that was his brother, just for a second desperately trying to warn him to stay away, but he didn't manage to get a word out. And like, I think that was when Jake sort of stopped denying it, and when he actually eavesdropped on them in his dog morph, he literally referred to Jake as my host's brother, which, like, I brought him here so we could either make him ours or kill him. Like, I mean, that's, it's undeniable at that point.
Yeah, it's because Tom knows that Jake cuts through that construction site to get home quicker, so he's assuming that Jake is one of the kids from the construction site.
Yeah.
He saw the ship, but the assistant principal Chapman goes, no, we don't have enough of us to do that. It's been seen, and it would harm the sharing a bit to if someone while here was killed. We don't need to worry just yet.
Yeah.
And Cassie, but Cassie makes a mistake at this point because she tries to spy on the full members meeting as a human, because her only morph at the moment is a horse that we know of.
And you're gonna notice what a stray dog is one thing, but you're gonna notice a horse on the beach.
Yeah, yeah, and she's spotted by the police officer who came down to the farm earlier. Who escorts her out away, and at this point, it's just sort of like Jake's like, yeah, it's Yerk, Chapman's Yerk. We're going to have to spy on Chapman to try and locate the Yerk pool, because they overhear Tom saying that he's going to be returning to it on Monday night.
Yeah, and he wants to use that opportunity to try and rescue him. But they discuss it and all agree that they're not going to do too well against an alien invasion force as a bunch of birds and house pets. They need something a little more dangerous.
There's a small bit before that.
Oh, yeah.
It's, to aid him in this, Jake and Cassie see to spend a chunk of the late evening of that trying to hunt down a lizard in Cassie's barn. And so when the school day comes, Jake skips classes, steps into his locker and transforms into a lizard, and
Yeah.
then immediately has a panic attack as a lizard because it's like too small, too small, too small. It's like go to the light, we can get out. No, light bad,
Light bad, light
too
scary.
dark, too small, too small.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
and
when the
panics.
lizard gets out, he sees a spider, hungry, and before Jake can pull back on the reins, he's swallowing that spider living.
Yeah, and he is not happy about that.
Yeah.
And then almost immediately after, there's the sound of a giant coming towards him, and then there's something has trapped his tail, and he just panics and is pulling, and he leaves his tail behind, and it just so happens that the person who stepped on his tail doesn't even seem to have realized that he's there.
Yeah.
Like
I thought you were
lizard.
going to say that the spider was one of them. Oh, no. To date, as far as I've read, none of them have accidentally eaten another one.
Yeah,
I don't see that happening, to be honest.
No, well, given the nature of the series, it's probably unlikely that any of them are going to die until possibly the last couple of books. It's just like due to the nature of the series.
Still, I haven't read that many of them, but yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's just that sort of thing. There may come in supporting characters that we grow attached to who die. But of the main 5, I think it will be a while, a long time, if any of them are ever actually killed off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in a remarkable bit of coincidence and a bit of body horror on having his tail ripped off, and also feeling the still semi-alive spider in his stomach.
Yeah.
He follows Chapman, who goes into a janitor's closet of all places, rather than his office, which is where Jake was making his way to spy on him. And he messes with things, turning a faucet on, and then turning a hook on the wall, and a doorway in the wall just swings open, and he walks down. There's sort of a purple light that comes out of it, and he can hear in the distance the sounds of human screams.
Yeah.
It's just like,
well, he's found the entrance to the Yerk pool.
Oh shit, the Yerk pool's under my school.
Well, I mean, technically correct, but also incomplete.
Horribly wrong.
Yeah. The Yerk pool is massive. It's like an underground city. The school is just one entry point.
Yeah, they don't know this yet. They just know what they think is the entrance. Because they seem to be assuming that the Yerk pool is something like a swimming pool in size. Hence why it would have the name. It's probably closer to a small lake, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Just something that Business Free said that to be relevant. They're here on Earth to grab humans because there are so many of us and we are so ill-equipped to resist them.
Yeah.
That it would allow that they'd have to create thousands of Yerk balls so they could spawn enough, and it would allow them to have the numbers to conquer beyond the galaxy, like go on the whole universe. Because again, in sci-fi, we are the race who are ambitious, energetic, and by God, do we breed like rats compared to the other races.
It would seem so, yeah.
Yeah, the main exception of sort of thinking of these things is like that is the Fraxons from Invincible. They're the ones who breed like rodents because they're insects and their lifespan is tiny. So their reproductive cycle's much faster. But
I haven't got there yet.
It's
I know what they are and the significance of them, but I haven't got to that point in the series yet. Like Invincible is on my list.
The series hasn't got to like the main worrisome point in the comic books of that yet. It's had the bit where like Oliver was born and Omni-Man went there.
Yeah.
But anyway, sidetrack. So, once again, we're the breed like rodents, rodent species of the galaxy.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the Yeerks basically want to use us as a labour force and basically grunt work. And we have very little in the way of mental defences to resist them. And, well, what he said was we'd have to build 1,000 Yeerk pools for even half of this species.
Yeah. So, the Andalite prince seems to think that the Andalites will be able to come and attack the Yeerks and possibly liberate Earth within about a year.
If
I'm gonna
if
say,
they can hold out that long. So the objective of the series is to stymie the Yeerk takeover enough and for long enough for reinforcements to arrive in the form of the Andalites.
yeah. Whereas he's also convinced that unless an action is taken, they will be conquered in less than a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so will be conquered in less than a year.
And then there'll be no
So
stopping them.
yeah, but given that there's 56 books, I'm gonna say it's gonna take the Andalites longer than a year to get here. Just as sort of like I'm calling this now, I have no actual basis in fact, other than there's so many books.
Yeah,
Because
I believe Scholastic, K.A. Applegate had a contract with Scholastic who wanted a book a month.
yeah,
A book a month,
yeah,
which is insane to my ears. Apparently, she had to
yeah,
hire ghostwriters. The first 6 or so are
yeah,
all her.
yeah. I believe it's because Goosebumps was also like a contemporary of this, and the author of that was just putting out at that pace. It's like Stephen King. It's just like in 8 bars I can write a whole bestseller. Levels of writing.
Yeah, but not everyone, most people aren't R.L. Stein or Stephen King.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, but she's still got 6 books out in very short space of time. It's
yeah.
still mighty impressive.
It is. It is.
Is
Like, respect. So it's got to hand it to her. That's
no,
prolific. It is indeed.
yeah. It's just sort of like as I said. There's 3 categories of author. There's ones who can make who are authors and publish and can win awards, but will still have another job on top of it, the university lecturers. Then there's the ones like George R.R. Martin, who somehow who just hit that moment where they write something and it becomes colossal and ridiculous and makes an absolute fortune, and they technically don't need to write anymore to live comfortably, but they still can write and often do. And then there's the Stephen King category where they have adaptations of TV, film, and they're still putting out a lot of books, but they're sort of medium sort of income wise. They can live off the writing, but they have to keep writing to continue to live off it. It's not going to just. It's not like they're going to live off of it or The Shining alone. And so it's just sort of like.
I will never understand how Stephen King keeps going, because like, I've been trying to write at least one book for like so long, for most of my life.
I believe Stephen King says he doesn't know how he did it, but he's also reasonably sure cocaine was involved at one point.
I mean, that would make
He can't
sense.
actually remember.
Oh,
But but K.A. Applegate is definitely have done it and enough to earn being very prolific.
yeah, a book a month. That is aspirational.
Yeah, even Stephen King would aspire to that level of speed.
Yeah. I mean, the books are quite short, which is why I felt like they'd be good to do for this series. I think after breaking into the industry, I imagine the promise of payment kept him writing. Well, yeah, that is probably true. Yeah.
I've brought up this story about Stephen King before, but in an interview, they took him in. He took an interviewer into his garage to show him, and there is along one wall of the garage, and it's quite a long one, on floor-to-ceiling bookshelves covered in shoeboxes, and in each shoebox is a complete novel that has been rejected by everyone who has ever published any one of his novels, and there are probably approaching 10 times the number of novels in those shoeboxes than he has published.
You know, he probably has the following at this point that if he wanted to just self-publish those, they'd probably do all right.
Yeah. I mean, for most of the time he's written them, he's probably had the following. It's just the publishing companies are they want their cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, we've gone off a bit.
So we go off on tangents on this show. It's just something that we do.
It's part of the charm in many ways.
Yeah.
But yeah. So they've located the Yerk pool. They've met up after school, or where they talk about it, and it goes from "I need to eat a lot of junk food to get over the thought of the spider and eating the spider" to "I really can't face eating anymore because everything is horrible."
Yeah. My brother has an alien in his brain.
And he's heard the screams of those people who have either just had the Yerk come out and they're waiting for it to go back in, or about to have the Yerk put back in.
Yeah.
And so, and this is where they make the decision of we need more firepower than a dog, a house cat, a horse, and a bird.
Yeah. So, sorry, go.
This is also where Marco reveals his reasoning as to why he doesn't want to do this, but does come along with them because Jake says we need to save Tom. And he goes, Marco, I understand that you don't want to do this. He's just sort of like, hey, Marco is Jake's best friend, so he is also close to Tom. So he will do this to help Tom.
Yeah. He also coins the term Animorphs. He's the first one to call them that.
Yeah. So, they don't go back to Cassie's farm. They go to
the gardens.
Which is a local zoo / amusement park combo.
Yep.
Where Cassie's mother works, so Cassie knows where the back doors are to get into closer to the enclosures and such. As we said earlier, she is the one who likes animals a lot.
Yeah.
So she leads them through and actually helps Marco get some FaceTime with Big Jim,
the gorilla,
who is a silverback gorilla, so the biggest and strongest variety if memory serves.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just after they he's got the DNA template of it, an old doddering security guard on a golf cart comes down the corridor and is like, "Hey, you kids, get out of here!" He gets out of the golf cart to chase them off, and Marco and Jake steal it as the other three go a different way to them.
Yeah.
And then they almost crash into two more younger security guards. It's like, shit, take a right, go down the corridor, that it's too tight for it, so they abandon it.
Yeah.
And there's two doors they have the option to, something like PT 301 and 302 or something like that. And they go, okay, door number 1, open it. Rhino, right, close it. Door number 2 then, go through. Bushes, hide. Close the door, hide in the bushes and go. That's an awfully large wall that the visitors are standing in front on top of.
And then
30 foot.
Yeah, Jake looks at Marco, who is wide-eyed and scared white, looking behind him. Is like, Marco, is there something behind me? He's like, yes, Jake, yes, there is. What is it? It's a tiger. Yeah. It's funny you should say that, Sam. It isn't unlike that. And Jake somehow manages to get a hand on the tiger without losing the hand, and manages to put it in the acquiring trance for long enough to acquire it, and for some reason doesn't tell Marco to run immediately while he's got it, zoned out. Not that it makes that much of a difference because they sort of like, okay, I'm going to take my hand off on three. On three, run. Because, you know, their thinking is it takes the animal about a minute to come out of the acquiring trance, so that should give them plenty of time to escape. But of course, there is more than one tiger in the enclosure.
Yes.
Uh,
And they make it to a ladder that they spotted that leads to the top, which frankly sounds like a security risk because I've seen tigers climb. If there is a ladder within reach, they can climb them.
really?
They'll just. It's not sort of a natural movement for them, but it is one they can adapt to.
Yeah. So, like,
So,
it's not comfortable, but they can.
Yeah, but I think the reality of the situation probably is they're used to the environment. There's possibly something that's been done to that makes them stay away from it, and also they don't have to hunt for their food.
Yeah.
They get fed and stuff. So, yeah. But they make it up there. Jake almost gets grabbed by the other tiger.
Yeah.
And they get up there. They have like half a second to catch their breath before a load of security is near enough on them. They're like, right, find the biggest crowd, lose them in there. so they crouch walk their way through a crowd to escape security, basically.
But escape security they do, and now Jake has a tiger morph to fall back on. Marco has
And
Big Jim the gorilla.
Yeah, which is his first morph. He had not acquired one yet.
Yeah,
And
we
nor has
don't
Rachel
see
either.
what I think what Rachel acquires just yet. But
Not yet. We don't know whether Tobias or Cassie acquire anything else.
yeah, well, Cassie definitely
they-
doesn't because she doesn't come back. She doesn't meet them, and it turns out she's been taken by the police officer that keeps crossing their path, and he's dragging her down to a yerk pool.
Yeah, she does meet them at the exit here, but she doesn't meet them when they agree to meet up that night to storm the yerk pool, and they start to panic. And there's also a feeling of, oh god, because Tobias has already has been the red-tailed hawk for an hour by the time they or for a while before they even start the mission.
Yeah, and he's like, dude, there's a bit of a time limit on that. Yeah, which yeah. Oh, Seb says, here's the thing: if you kidnapped the kids, assuming they were rare animals, would you get charged for kidnap or poaching? How important is intent? You don't know their children. Well, the law doesn't know they were animals, and presumably they'd have to morph back at some point, so it would probably be kidnapping.
Unless they decide to not morph back, then it would be poaching.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that would also mean they'd also be stuck as the animal. So
Yeah.
but yeah. So they make their way into the school, and they do learn, like after some people have gone down, that Cassie has been captured by the police officer, and that is the moment they go from, "Oh, this is bad. Maybe we shouldn't," to right violence.
Yeah.
But their plan.
Well,
Their
I mean, they
plan
don't
is-
mention this, but if they do successfully, like, take Cassie, they've got another morphing yerk, which they do not want to have to deal with. They never say that, but that is true.
Yeah, that is the implication.
Like, if any of them are taken, the yerks will suddenly know that there are humans that can morph, if only 5 of them, and, like, they would have one of them.
They'll also know who the other ones are.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Imagine that as a legal defense. I mistook them for African elephants. Oh yeah, I can see the resemblance, mate.
their plan is to get down, because they know how to activate it, is to pretend to already be controllers on their way down, because surely not every controller knows every other controller.
Well, yeah,
Which, given we've already been told there's hundreds of them within the city, is a fair assumption. Then, if there were only like 20, then no, they would know each other perfectly at this point.
yeah. But it turns out that they are right,
Yeah,
at least for long
and
enough to get to where they need to be.
yeah, and this is where they discover that like the Yerk pool is essentially in a miniature Yerk city, underneath their home, which
Yeah,
is described as a town at the beginning. So the underground construction is possibly bigger than where they live
yeah,
in some ways, but is so they go down and they see the process of which it happens, in which in which the host bends over and the Yerk falls out of their ear into the pool, which is sort of tar black. I think it's described as bubbling at one point, but uh, yeah, and then the hosts start basically screaming in terror,
yeah.
and then forced into a
Yeah.
cage to
Like,
hold them
well,
off the Yerk.
there is a description of a woman like calmly leaning over the pool as the Yerk comes out of her, and then immediately just freaking out and trying to resist and screaming for help. But there are also descriptions of like there's just like a lounge area where human hosts are just watching, voluntary human hosts are just sitting and watching TV while they wait for their Yerk hosts to recharge.
Yeah, with taxons as well. Taxons are amongst them watching TV as well.
Which is a
So,
bizarre mental image.
yeah, so but Jake gets a moment of satisfaction when thanks to Tobias's superior eyesight as a hawk, he's able to spot that Tom is in the cage. So Tom is not a voluntary host, which is a moment of satisfaction for Jake because
Yeah.
his brother would never join them.
Yeah.
And at least he's right on that one.
Yeah.
And they go down and then they spot the process of implantation, as it were, which is Hawkbajir basically grabs them by the shoulder, sticks their head in the water, pulls them up before they suffocate, and there will be a Yerk partway into their ear already.
Yeah.
This is a process for new and returning implants.
Yeah.
And in which I don't know how the Yerk finds their previous host, because I'm imagining they don't jump between various bodies on that, because that would be inconsistent and really unhelpful for them.
Yeah. Generally,
So
no.
is there just a queue underwater for like, these are for the new host bodies, these are for your previous ones? Queue in the same order that you came into the pool.
I presume they do coordinate like that because, like,
Yeah.
we do later learn that Yerks in their natural form don't have eyes or eyesight. And also, like, it is not unheard of for a Yerk to change host bodies, but it's rare enough that it's noteworthy when it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So having seen all this, and then it seems that because they stopped for a while, because god, this is so much more than we thought.
Yeah.
People seem to have got suspicious now that they've made it to the bottom of the stairs. So they assume what they call their battle morphs. Jake transforms into a tiger, Marco turns into the gorilla, and Rachel reveals what she got from the zoo.
An elephant.
An elephant.
An elephant who never forgets to kill. No.
He just bulldozers through like what structures are down there, and Hawkbajir and Taxons.
Yeah.
One of them described
Marco
as
is the first one to launch an attack, and he sort of fells a Hawkbajir with one punch to the chest.
Yeah. It turns out, for all their like intimidating nature, the Hawkbajir do not have a lot of toughness or endurance.
Yeah.
intelligence by the looks of
They are
it.
very much glass cannons in that regard.
Then again, this is compared to a silverback gorilla who could also do the same things to a human.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I
it
mean,
is
even in the context of what Jake thinks in the book, he describes people as being as though made of toothpicks when compared to a gorilla.
yeah, and we see that Jake, in his tiger form, he feels like the deadliest thing in the room.
Yeah.
Human, to sort
Like,
of like his mind is that of an apex predator.
an interesting thing that we've been sort of glossing over about the morph forms is that you put them inside the mind of the animal, but you also feel like how the animal feels about itself. Like, because he describes when he's morphed as Homer as like dogs don't feel anything halfway. You're never sort of happy. You're like, you are happy, and if you're bummed out, you're absolutely despondent. And,
yeah,
indeed, when he hears confirmation that his brother is a controller, he just sort of surrenders to the dog instincts for a while because he doesn't want to feel his feelings, and the dog just sort of forgets why he's sad for a bit. But he does pull himself out of it.
yeah. So
Okay, Seb, I'm going to put the spelling into the chat so that you can see it. As soon if the mouse will. Right.
yeah, it's BAJI, I believe.
Yeah. The hawk burger. It's not a hawk burger. I don't.
Yeah, HBAJIR. Yeah. Yeah.
Still looks like an insurgency. I suppose it does.
Yeah. It's a different group, a very different sort of methodology and mindset. This group.
Yeah.
So they're on the rampage. They've opened the cages on this. I believe they had Marco went over, basically pulled the lock apart, and then just beckons, "Follow me."
Yeah.
To the
whatever you say, unusually intelligent gorilla.
Yeah, he doesn't say anything because it seems that telepathy is limited to other animorphs.
No, I think they can project their thoughts into humans, but like, I think for security reasons they don't in this particular instance. Like, there's a point where they do manage to spring Tom from his cage, and Jake wants to tell him who he is, but before he can, they come face to face with Visser 3.
Yeah, just before Visser 3 makes his appearance, Cassie is next in line to be dumped to get a yerk. So Jake is basically having to discover just how far a tiger can jump.
Yeah.
Turns out it is sufficient. He catches the hawk Bajir who is doing it, and it's like 4 claw marks. It's enough to distract him and get him to let go of Cassie, who then starts to transform into a horse.
Yeah, to get away.
She doesn't demonstrate a battle morph in this one.
No.
And so she transforms, and then from the crowd of humans, after Visser 3 has made an appearance, nudges 2 of them and sort of gestures with her head, and they get on her back, and she starts running for the stairs.
Yeah.
As the others are following, with as many of the humans and 2 hawk Bajir they've liberated as well.
Yeah.
And Visser goes, "Oh, you Andalite beeps."
Yeah.
He's a good job tricking us, thinking that only one of you has survived. But how do you like this sword? I got it on the 3rd moon of the 2nd planet around the dying star.
And transforms into I don't even know what to call it.
A giant creature with 8 heads and 8 limbs. is the official description in the story.
Yeah.
But the heads each have one eyes, horns, massive teeth, and as we learn, fire.
They.
Because
Sorry, you cut out there. Repeat that for emphasis.
as they learn, shoots fire out of their mouths.
Yeah.
Yep. Mr. Free is a bizarre dragon right now, type of thing. But the limbs are sort of interchangeable hands/feet,
Yeah.
it seems. But he is massive. His legs are described as being like as tall as trees.
I'm more
sort
disturbed
of
by the
thing.
head to limb ratio than I am the sheer numbers. So.
Yeah, it's weird. So he's basically breathing fire at the stairs and the fleeing groups, and the first one gets the person at the back who's riding Cassie. He so gets them, and then gets a number of the others as they rush up. The two Hawk Bajir that they've freed, so they're not going to have any alien allies in this.
Oh, shame.
And and is starting to chase them up. Though he is a massive form, so can't actually follow them up. But in a moment of insanity, Tom, a normal human, looks at this and tries to attack him on the stairs. It is presumably a sort of, I'm going to try and save these people. And just gets knocked off with an errant flick of Besserfree's hand.
Well, he's a
and falls,
teenage
and-
boy.
Yeah, so it's just a moment of sheer insanity. And this causes the tiger to come up a lot stronger in Jake for a moment, who actually jumps onto Vesafree behind most of the heads and starts biting down behind one of them.
Yeah.
And then one of the other heads turns around and blasts him with fire point blank, so he is injured now. And they're just making their getaway.
We should point out it is established that injuries sustained during morphs do not carry over into human forms. You heal when you turn back. Because injuries aren't carried on through DNA, of course.
Yeah, it's established in part by the red-tailed hawk that Tobias has turned into. Had an injured wing.
Yes, Seb, you can. Cassie does at the first time we see her morph a horse in the book. That is basically what happens.
Yeah. And so Tobias has shown that, and we also get it reinforced by the fact that there is no downside to Jake for losing his tail while he was a lizard. Because I think it would have come up in the text if he suddenly just had a chunk of flesh missing from losing his tail. It does remove some of the stakes of permanent injury, but given the inherent time limit and the idea of their identity being discovered, there's enough eternal stakes to keep it going.
Yeah.
Anyway, because there's the secret identity and the potential ramifications of staying informed too long.
Yeah.
But they get out. Visafree's not able to follow them up because he's too big. He believes that they are other Andalites that they missed. Yes, so it's the assumption that
that's
there's
the only
aliens
explanation he can think of for why they would have the ability to morph.
Yeah, because Andalites do not share this ability, to his understanding.
Yeah, this is the first time they've shared this power.
Yeah, it's there's So I imagine this is also the reason why I don't know for later books. But I imagine this is the reason why they immediately just did not yerk everyone in the school afterwards because they're going up because they leave through the school entrance. And so it's just assumption they're not connected with the school. That's just how they got in this one time.
Yeah.
But it's revealed, and when they get up there, they have saved one person. And it was not Tom. They didn't even name them or give them a gender. It's just saved one human. from this, who is probably rightly freaking out after having got away from this situation from a random horse that appeared, a tiger, an elephant who is now suddenly missing, and there's a young girl there instead, and a gorilla.
And a red-tailed hawk, but she might not have noticed that with the other things.
Well, the thing is, she wouldn't have noticed the red-tailed hawk, because as we learn in the next chapter, he didn't actually leave with them.
No.
Oh, Tobias not captured. Tobias hid and stayed hidden. And when we next see him again, he's come to Jake and essentially tapped on the window to be let in. And he's talking, and Jake's like, go on, morph back to normal. And he's like, it can't. Why? I stayed. It was over 2 hours.
I had to stay hidden, or I mean, the implication is he stayed hidden to avoid being caught and killed, but he overstayed the time limit and said, I guess this is me from now on then. So Tobias has overstayed the time limit and is now permanently a red-tailed hawk.
Yes. And, yeah, so, and this is the moment that Jake sort of affirms that, yes, he will continue this fight until the Andalites can come and save them.
And then maybe they can help Tobias.
Yeah. And this is where the book ends.
Yeah.
Ends on that, with they've technically had a victory, they have survived, but there's already a complication, and the victory is Pyrrhic at best. Because they've sort of revealed their existence to the Yeerks now, who weren't aware of that there were Animorphs about, but they think that they're Andalites, not humans.
Yeah. Which, like,
So
for their purposes, works well for them.
Yeah, so it is a victory, but it is Pyrrhic at best, because essentially they've lost one of their members, is now just permanently a bird. Which is probably not gonna. It will probably just be assumed that Tobias ran away by his aunt or uncle, or whichever one is in this series.
I mean,
think
they
it's
come
uncle.
up with a temporary stopgap, like it's a band-aid on a gaping wound, but I mean, it's not that much of a spoiler. They send a note to each of his aunt and his uncle, forged from the other one, saying he's staying with them. And given that they don't seem to care much about him, they're unlikely to check. That is what is assumed.
Yeah, the school is going to be the main issue, I think, if they ever actually like write to one of them saying, why aren't they in? To whichever one's in the city.
Yeah.
But the town.
So I suppose they could have, but an animal that isn't a sentient being wouldn't really, like, because it requires concentration and effort of will to morph into another species, which I don't think a non-sentient being would possess.
Yeah, but there is one question. I do not want to think about that question, Seb, but the answer is probably yes. He's asking if an adult could become an endangered species.
There is
help
nothing
repopulate.
physically stopping them from doing that. However, hopefully, there would be a lot mentally stopping them from doing that.
And also, this is a kids' book or a young adults book series, so possibly will not deal with your half. With your
probably a good thing because it's saving
kid. Yeah,
saving endangered.
There is one.
We knew he'd find something.
Yeah. I'm not going to go into the possible genetics of a predominance of a species sharing the same DNA, because we know what happened with that. It's what happened to the Habsburg royal family and the Targaryens in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
the bottom of the barrel, it is called. But there is one question I have for the story that is not addressed at this point, or I don't think is addressed. What on earth happened to the morphing cube, the thing that gave them the powers? Because it is not mentioned that any of them carried it out of that site, and it's not mentioned that he took it back or it was destroyed. So it's just, what happened to it? Is there just a blue brick somewhere that could randomly make more Animorphs?
I mean, I think we're supposed to assume it was destroyed with the ship.
Yeah, but it wasn't on the ship when the ship was destroyed, because the last we saw it, it was in the hands of the five of them it was the five of them holding it along with the prince. That is literally the last time it was mentioned. And so
I
I'm
don't know.
guessing that it will come up at some point much later in the series.
Perhaps.
If you don't know currently, then it's going to be if it comes up after book 10.
Yeah.
And which is much later in the series, but not in comparison to the end of the series, where book 10 is quite early.
Yeah, I'm still only about 20% through the series, not even that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am actually 11 books in. The last one I read was The Forgotten, which was book 11. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna have to say just on the same thing. They will just be condors, not human condor hybrids, because because you assume the form of the DNA you take. It will not be adding a new condor DNA to the mix.
You would effectively be a
DNA
clone of the one you acquired.
And if you are repopulating a species enough to move it from endangered to not endangered, then the majority of the species would have the same DNA, so the DNA pool has in fact shrunk.
Yeah.
This is why breeding programs for these species are one of the solutions, and they are carefully bloody monitored.
Oh well, we got through. Sorry, we got through the recap of that quicker than we typically do with Sherlock Holmes.
Though to be fair, we do 3 Sherlock Holmes as opposed to one of these.
Yeah.
So there is a step of what do we think of the stories in between each of those.
Yeah. On that, how did you find your experience of reading The Invasion for the first time?
It was interesting. I had to sort of. I was having trouble keeping track of which person was which, because it's sort of like we've thrown 5 names very quickly to try to remember who. Because
and also several alien species names.
Yeah, by about page 15, we've had 2 Andalites characters, the 3 additional
5
alien
characters,
5 all appearing. So it's sort of like we've been thrown a lot, and sort of like a couple of sci-fi terms as well, like the type of energy weapon they use.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called offhand.
Draken
and stuff
beams,
like that.
I think.
Yeah, but yeah, going back to yeah, and Seb is giving us condor conservation facts now.
Cool.
Yeah, there would be more condors from the thing, but it's the gene pool shrinking issue that is the problem.
Yeah.
Because or certainly, like for a species like humanity with the numbers now, 10,000 is roughly what you need for a stable gene pool to keep the species going. And, without having to sort of resort to breeding programs and such.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quality over quantity in this instance. You need to do that, because if half the gene pool is identical, then you've got a problem. But anyway, on the breeding and the condors, the series was interesting. I must admit, there is part of me that's sort of like the Yerks have an obvious weakness with that. The thing going out with the Yerk pools and them needing to leave the host every 3 days, which, given my love of the Stargate franchise, which also has a parasitic species that takes on host bodies, it seems like, how do you get any power done? Like anything, it's just like every 3 days you need to retreat to a pool. Be like the Goa'uld. They can go, they can go thousands of years before they need to choose a new host. Granted, they also have ridiculous medical science that is helping that, but still.
Yeah.
Called the sarcophagus, interestingly enough.
Yeah, I mean, they must be very good at, like, coordinating schedules to get stuff done with that time limit.
Mm. Yeah, well, and Richard Hammond cloning Condor's comment from Seb there.
Yeah. Sorry, I did not mean to talk about Condor so much. It's all right.
Yeah, yeah. I think I could be wrong on this, but I think the clones we have successfully made of animals have been sterile so far. I could be wrong on that one. I think at the very least Dolly the sheep was, but I again could be utterly wrong on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, yeah, it's interesting. I will unfortunately be probably comparing the Yerks to the Goa'uld more than once across the series because the Goa'uld.
I'm gonna have to watch Stargate, aren't I?
Yeah, I'm not going to go deep into the lore, but the Goa'uld are serpents who go in through the back of the neck and wrap themselves around the brainstem and take control like that. This is literally stuff in episode 3 that we learn how this mechanics work. So I'm not going deep in the lore.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like they are a parasitic race and they take on human hosts because they're a more compatible species for them and more useful, and also the Goa'uld are vain, and they find humans more a prettier host. Which, when you see what their first host species is like, you will agree.
Yeah. So, yeah, I like this first book, but I think they get better as they go on.
Oh, it's not a bad book. My main criticisms of it are just sort of a problem with the genre rather than the actual story, which is things fitting nicely into human time frames. So, like, you can only be in there for 2 hours as opposed to that.
So, yeah. so they decide what species to use the host based on how sexy they are.
On how visually appealing. Yes, some of it. Well, the Goa'uld are asexual, so they don't so much have that, but they are vain beyond belief. It's sort of like so it is the ones that they can make look prettiest, basically. Also, their first hosts, the Unas, are essentially reptilian to an extent, and their fingers aren't as they have less fingers and is like less opposable than humans. So it's just dexterity and other advantages as well. No, the Unas are much stronger and long-lived, but with the sarcophagus, natural lifespans can be extended almost indefinitely, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, they have no. It's how to explain no concept. They can tell when things are beautiful or attractive. They just don't reproduce by the species themselves boning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew about copycats. CC
I think we've
was how
sent
they
Seb down a couple of rabbit holes here.
Oh God, we've of course we have. Seb has also attempted to send us down a couple as well. So
Yeah.
all fair in love and streaming.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I like this one. I think it establishes the principal cast nicely. Um, Once we learned of the 2 hour time limit, I think you had to have one of them overstay it at some point. I just didn't think it would be in the first book.
Yeah, but I think that helps establish sort of
Some stakes.
yeah, some stakes early on and some consequences because of course they don't get injured in the form. So and also having like
Like,
maimed children or young teens from like the first book is probably would have moved them straight out of young adult and straight into adult.
yeah. And, well, it's established throughout the rest of the series that as long as they morph back before they die, they're fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, they can suffer fatal wounds and be okay if they manage to morph back before death occurs.
Yeah. There's oh, there was a thing. Yeah, I feel the story is going to have a bit of Avatar: The Last Airbender about it, and what I mean by that is, it is a war story told from children and young adults fighting it as opposed to the more traditional one, which in many ways makes it more horrifying because child soldiers are generally thought of it's a war crime to utilize child soldiers.
Yeah, and this one is
So
child soldiers that are also subject to the instincts and laws of nature, which, like, I don't want to spoil anything, but it gets pretty dark.
yeah, so it's sort of like it is child soldiers more fun for kids. I mean, you had to do something in the 90s, but not,
Yeah,
not being child
smartphones hadn't been invented yet, so we just went off and got into wars.
yeah, but it is a war narrative told by those who are fighting it, and those who are fighting it are far too young to be realistically the ones who should be fighting it.
Yeah,
I don't. We're going to have the problem that I had sometimes with Avatar or The Last Airbender is when the child soldiers are incredibly more competent than the adults and the actual professionals.
well, I mean, there are no adults and professionals at this point, like, in the conflict that even know about it,
Yeah,
except the
which is
enemies. So,
yeah, which is where and there's also which is where we're not going to have that problem because like in Avatar: Last Airbender, I'm I am aware that the way I'm saying this makes it sound like I dislike the program. That is untrue. I love the program.
yeah, it's one of my
It's
favourites as
just
well.
that yeah, it's just that at even taking Aang out of the equation because he is the literal Messiah within universe, taking him out of the equation, Sokka, Toph, Azula, Katara, Ty Lee, May, and have I forgotten Zuko? All display higher levels of competence than the adults that they're either working with or working against. Like, like I get that there's some things are in, but just sort of like as a blanket thing, the kids are more competent and more dangerous than the adults, with the only real exceptions being Iroh and Ozai being the only ones who would say are actually more competent than their teenaged equivalents.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like, and that's taking the literal Messiah with the Avatar state, who is technically 112.
Yeah, he's 100 years removed from anyone you could compare him to. That
So hard to
like
count as a
did
kid.
but did you see the amount of bodies
12.
around Monkiatsu? Like he went down. He did not go down cheap.
Yeah, no, I think I think the official count is he took down 50 firebenders before they got him.
Yeah. But yeah, back to Animorphs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. So this,
So
this
yeah,
is very episode 1 because, well, that's what it is.
yeah, it's done a good job, sort of setting the stakes. Already, actually having some trouble get in their way that they can't, that isn't just overcome at the end of the story by having Tobias overstay the limit immediately. Though I knew that was coming because you had mentioned it before on one of them, but again, I
Oh
didn't
yeah,
expect
I
it to be.
did. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that was a while ago. But it's also like the story hints that it is going to.
Yeah. I mean, it makes no bones about the fact that he really loves the Hawk morph and he being able to fly,
Yeah,
and he hates going back into being a human, and he spends all the time he can get away with in the Hawk form.
yeah. It's sort of like around the same moment where I dropped the he's actually already yerked. It was also the bit of oh, so this is the one who Ollie said is going to get stuck, and then at the end is like,
I
oh
forgot
god,
I
that
told
did
you
not.
that. I must have been talking about the books as I was reading them.
Yeah, and it's like it's been what 3 days since they got their powers, and he's already got himself trapped as a hawk.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, 3 days.
there was one rule, Tobias. One!
But, but you can sympathize it with him. You like understand why he doesn't want to
Yeah.
be the human because he has a sense of freedom and actual sort of like the thing. Oh yeah, one thing about it that sort of come on Rachel seems very affectionate towards Tobias as when he's in his hawk mode, and sort of like he lands on her shoulder and she sort of almost nuzzles up to him a little bit.
Yeah.
So calling it now from the looking of it is like, well, we knew Jake like Cassie because it was sort of his first description of her after describing Rachel as like very beautiful with the blonde hair. But I don't think about her that way because she's my cousin.
Yeah. And
Several states of America,
yeah.
that's not actually an impediment. But he also describes Cassie in sort of slightly similar language and well, he near enough says he likes her.
Well,
And then it seems that Tobias and Rachel are also quite close on that. The
yeah.
poor Marco, fit real.
Yeah, it seems so.
Though I did actually, one of the pieces of trivia I saw about it was that in an interview with K.A. Applegate, there was someone who was talking about sort of in relation to Mark, so the characters, and there's just sort of like can be seen in light of bisexual representation. And she did go, Applegate did sort of go, I do believe that all humans are bisexual to some extent or the other, but if I was to say that any of them actively were, it would be Marco. Or something along those lines. And which is apparently also sort of carried out by some of the texts, is sort of like basis as to why she would say this herself. But that didn't come up in this one. There are another 50 books for it to be hinted at.
I think, like, there have been a couple of Marco POV books that I've read. I don't remember that being hinted at. Although the first Marco POV book, I can't remember which number it is, but there is one scene in it that I am looking forward to your thoughts on.
Yeah.
You'll know what it is.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So, but yeah, though I must admit, okay, she did say that there was hints of it in the text that supports why she thinks Marco that way, like some conversations with Jake and another character, whose name I can't remember, who hasn't been introduced yet. That she says suggests it. But it's just like there is the slight bit, and this is a grievance I have with a lot of authors because I dislike the practice so much, rather than just like any author who does it. The canon by proclamation is what
Yeah,
I'm going to call
I know
it.
what you mean. I know what you're talking about. Like, I didn't
Yeah,
depict this in the books, but they were, like, kind of thing.
yeah, yeah, and there is an obvious example that I'm not going to go into that does this. There is sort of this is, however, different to. It's a very thin line, but there is a difference between that and answering questions about
Yeah.
characters for
I
information or stuff
don't
that
think.
would come up in the book.
Yeah, I don't think she's quite guilty of that because of the way you worded that quote. It said, "If I did have to say one of them was, it would be this one."
Yeah,
Like,
it also started with the line of, "I believe that everyone is bisexual to some extent."
yeah,
So it's just like it is entirely possible in her mind that all of them are.
yeah. Well, I
But
mean, if she
the thing,
believes that everyone is to some extent, then they all are.
yeah. So so it's just sort of, I'm not thinking so much as like this, but it is the thin line between, well, this is how I see them, to I'm saying this is what it is, not even though that was never the intention.
This is canon, even though I never made it canon in the text.
Yeah, it is. It is a thin line that I I have had experience of pointing out that someone goes, "Well, what about why?" as in counter arguments, and it's just sort of like it is supported by the text, and this is also, or in some cases, this is not something that is actually ever brought up in relation to the character. Yes, but that's because it doesn't fit in with the story. It's like it's like asking an author what someone's favorite color was. There's no reason why the story would bring it up 99% of the time, but the author probably has always known what their favorite color was.
Yeah.
Uh, is just sort of like it's the balancing that to the prime example I'm going to go with is unfortunately from series we should not be naming, but why were there no Jewish wizards at Hogwarts? Oh, there were Jewish wizards at Hogwarts. We just never see them. And that will hopefully be the last reference to that series for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And it's that sort of level of difference of things. But yeah, I don't think K.A. Applegate has done that. I think, but it was as just sort of an interesting piece of trivia that just came up and when I just looked at some odd bits of information.
Yeah. Well, again,
Also,
she didn't speak in absolutist terms. It was a hypothetical.
yeah, yeah, and there's though the one thing I saw in trivia that's quite disturbing is the official artwork of Andalites. My God, they're weird.
I don't think I've seen that.
Let's see. I'm. Hey, we're Knights of the Round Table. We dance whenever we're able. We do routines and chorus scenes. I am sending to you some official artwork of Andalites. If you wish to put it on screen like you did Charles Augustus Magnuson last week, it's up to you. But give warnings of nightmares may follow.
Okay. Alright. Where have you sent this?
I will be sending it on Facebook. It is instead bringing up an image that I copied quite a while ago instead of the one I was wanting to copy.
Ah, technology.
Technology. It was the Simpsons meme about the Russell T Davis was coming up again. There it is. It is sending. It is sent.
Yes, that is rather
nightmare inducing. But
yeah.
it is also, however, I'm fine with it to an extent, other than the like nightmare-inducing factor, because it is not just a human with weird squiggles on their face
Yeah.
or point or weird ears, a la all of Star Trek. Near enough.
Yep. Hold on, let me just get that uh, get that on screen. Um, there we go. Oh, yeah. That is supposedly. Hold on, let me just resize it so it fits on the. That is supposedly what an Andalite looks like.
Yeah, I must admit, I saw them very differently in my head.
I saw them
I
very
had them,
differently in my head.
yeah, they were silver in my head, or sort of like silver grey in my head, and their heads almost came out. Were a bit more lupine, so a bit more like a wolf.
Yeah.
But
I
on their, sort of like they had a muzzle but no mouth, is how I saw them as well.
I saw something very different. And I'm not sure how to describe it. um,
Yeah, if I had the sufficient drawing skills, I would do one of how I saw them in my head, but I do not. I'd also forgotten they had the silly antennas as well.
yeah. Like,
But
imagine if Humpty Dumpty was a centaur with eye stalks and antlers and a scorpion tail. That for some reason, and like I imagine that's what I imagined when I was a kid reading these in school, and that sort of image has carried over to now.
yeah, so yeah, there was another one from that I saw, which I think is from a comic adaptation of one of the stories, where they're more purple and it's consistent throughout the body that they're all purple. So the weirdly human hands and skin tone by the eyes are purple instead, along with the rest of the body. But other than that, the physiology was basically unchanged,
Yeah.
apart from possibly slimmer. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's an Andalite. Enjoy your nightmare fuel.
uh, I mean, certain scenes in the books are also nightmare fuel, so it's on brand.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, and
for
especially when there's
sorry, go on.
especially when you think that there is one of those out there with a brain slug in it
Yeah.
as well, who has spent time hunting down the most horrible creatures in the galaxy to steal their DNA.
Yeah. And well, Prince Alfangor describes the ability as how they remain undetected throughout the galaxy. So, like for them, it's just a method of blending in culturally. I
Yeah,
don't imagine they ever intended it to be used as a weapon of war.
yeah, but here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and no, I must say for Vesa Free, for the only one who has an Andalite body in them, he does not seem to be the leader of the cult of the Yerks. Which you do have to wonder: is the leader of the Yerks in something somehow worse than an Andalite with the
The
ability
Earth
to walk?
invasion is being led by a Visa 1. So I assume Visa is a rank. This has not really been clearly established where I am.
Yeah,
And, well, he is the third of them. Yeah.
yeah. So it's sort of like, but I'm thinking it's like in this race that it takes over bodies, the Andalite one seems to be like the most useful one, because it has the morphing power. So what on earth does the supreme leader of this race inhabit, where the Andalite one just doesn't go over, murk him, and take over from being the strongest?
I mean, like,
It could just be cultural things or
I
the
think
fear of
it is.
someone nicking his body.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, and I don't think it's a huge spoiler. Um, but Visa One's host body is human.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you
that's the
do
one.
get
Yeah.
you do get an insight in to how the Yerk hierarchy operates, and it is subject to some politicking here or there. Let's say, like,
Yeah.
I mean, Visa 3 says in this book, like, when I make a success of this, then I'll be Visa 1. You know, there's power grabs. That, yeah,
Yeah. So Visa 3 is just not quite as good at the politics game currently. He's got the military power. He just is completely useless at politics. Roman politics.
well, I mean, this hasn't been established in the series. This is just sort of my conjecture from what I've seen of his character. I would not be surprised if the Yeerk hierarchy saw him as being too much, like, saw him as being too bloodthirsty to reliably run things.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, because he does seem to delight in when he's torturing Elfangor to death. Like,
Yeah.
uh,
Oh, I'm just sorry. You finish and then I'll
yeah,
go into my
and like, he didn't have to eat him either. Like,
yeah. Yeah. That he does seem quite needlessly ruthless, but then again, makes a good antagonist in some ways. It's like this is the one we need to overcome.
yeah. Seb says, I love how the Animorphs book covers look like shitposts. They were very popular on Tumblr back in the day for that exact reason. Those book covers.
Yeah, it's the style in which they're trying to do it at the time, because they've redone them in early 2000s, and I think at least the first one was actually redone this year for for what I imagine is the 30th anniversary version.
Oh, Seb has just sent me a
But
parody cover of someone turning into the red M&M.
yes, he sent that into the group chat, so yeah. So I've seen it as well, and oh god, that is horrifying.
Though they do describe
on,
the process of morphing as, like, it's not painful, but it feels like it should be. And, you know, you feel your bones rearrange themselves, and
hang on, is that meant to be Eminem morphing it into an M&M?
oh god, it is.
Yeah, no, I only got that because it's entitled "Love the Way You Lie."
Ah,
Yeah, and yeah, the morphing is described as a really sort of horrifying experience to watch, I would imagine.
yeah,
Especially as, at this point, a quick morph is still about 3 minutes.
yeah. And, well, they start morphing a more diverse range of animals in future books, and it gets more gross in places.
Yeah. Yeah, but what was I going to say? The bit I was going to say that I'd forgotten about is that when he's in gorilla form, Marco refers to himself as King Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a. It's just sort of, it's very 90s because I just had to look up, and there's references
Sega, Storm, X-Men, Phasers, Star Trek, Bill Clinton, Late Show with David Letterman, Jello, Superman, Boy Scouts of America, Fantastic Four, Nike, Birkenstocks, King Kong vs. Godzilla, Tarzan, Frankenstein's Monster, Super Bowl, Caterpillar Inc., King Kong, and Godzilla. Those referenced separately from the film King Kong vs. Godzilla. It's just sort of like, Bill Clinton being a timely reference and not in relation to a collection of files.
Yeah. They do seem to be pretty pop culturally rounded for kids of their age because, like, they make references to older films occasionally. Like, there is a scene in the first book where they have to morph a fly, and that in preparation for that, well, sort of not in preparation for that, but incidentally leading up to that, they watch both versions of the movie The Fly, the old one and the remake with Jeff Goldblum, which is they say in the text.
Yeah. I'm going to hazard a guess at Seb's question of can you morph into a different person, and as the answer is probably no. Because
right, a human can't because they are human. I think, but there are instances, right, like there are instances of an Andalite having to assume. Well, Visser 3 at some point has to assume a human form at one point later.
Yeah, because I think it would be slightly suspicious if one of those nightmare fuels on the screen just walks through a town in what is ostensibly California, apparently.
Well, I mean, we're not allowed to know the precise one because they can't give actual details. Like, every book starts with the same sort of intro, like, hi, my name is whoever the POV character is. I can't tell you my real last name or even which state I'm in. I can't tell you any identifiers because they might be listening.
Yeah.
And, you know, every book introduces and reintroduces the principal cast, gives you a rundown on who they are, and like the cliff notes of some of their history. It allows for the fact that any book you pick up might be the first one you picked up.
Yeah.
It does mean that the beginnings get a bit repetitive, but you know, I appreciate all bases being covered there.
Yeah. Seb going in response to walking around as those nightmare fuels as I'd brazenly do it anyway because who would believe you? This was before camera phones. You can probably do it today and brush it off as AI. I mean, especially if you look like 90s CGI.
Well, I mean, you'd probably get shot if that happened. Like that thing just casually walking through a town centre, just politely inclining its head to people like, good morning. Even then, would probably...
just telepathically just saying, good morrow.
Good morrow.
Good morrow. Yeah, I mean, especially in America, it would get shot. Because
Seb says, to be fair, I forgot this was America, you'd just get shot. Like Doctor Who. Like the Doctor did the second he stepped off the TARDIS in America.
Yeah. Poor Sylvester McCoy. Yeah, and it's sort of like, yeah, depressing fact to sort of lend to the you'll just get shot narrative. For every 100 people in America, there are 112 guns in private ownership. So, in the public ownership, not the police, not the army. 112 guns for every 100 Americans.
There are more privately owned guns than people, is what you're saying.
Yes. It averages out as each American has 1.12 guns. And the thing is, there are families that will have like hundreds. There'll be like large swathes of Americans who don't have any. And then there'll be families who have dozens.
Yeah.
But you can see the nut jobs who keep posting them online. And it's just sort of like, Also, more rural areas are more likely to have some of the larger guns as well, and more guns on average.
Right.
But
Yeah.
uh,
Anyway,
so
do you
given
have
that this is
anything
meant
to
to be
say
a
about
town,
the book?
yeah. Well, I was just going to finish. So given that this is a town, they are less likely to be shot.
Yeah.
Not,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, overall I enjoyed it. It's interesting. I like that they're going to be like each book goes like changes perspective characters. So you're like I'm assuming like there isn't a point where any character is the perspective character two in a row. So
I
I
don't.
haven't
Not
looked that
so
up.
far for me. When I was at school, because those were the three in the book box, I read the first one, the third one, which is the one I most clearly remember, and the 43rd one.
Yeah,
Like, so yeah, I do have a bit of advanced knowledge for things to come, but less than you'd think. um, and then I started rereading these. I reread the third one, and I am quite looking forward to talking about that one because, like, I don't remember it being that upsetting when I was a kid. uh,
yeah.
I'll just tell you, the third one is from Tobias's perspective.
That would be interesting, given that he is now Bird.
Yep, and that is basically the plot. Well, I mean, the plots can get a little bit formulaic, you know. An incident happens, they devise a plan of action, at some point at the end they have a run-in with Visser 3 and barely escape with their lives. Seems to be, like, the plot of a lot of them. Mind you, as I say, I've only read the first 11 of them. But, there is a statistical likelihood of that being the basic plot.
Yeah, but I mean that's fair enough. It is also like, so we might have to take a break as it goes on, if it feels a bit too samey, which is actually why we're taking the
Like,
alternate weeks with Sherlock Holmes, because it's a lot more guilty of that
yeah.
because each story
You
is
know,
so much shorter.
I don't think we are going to have as much of a problem with that with this series because, like, each book kind of feels like an episode of a TV series. Like,
Yeah, as I said, it was only a might, but
yeah,
it will still take us, even without taking any breaks, just over 2 years with this format to get through them all.
And Seb says, I've had a
Because
lot of fun looking at the real book covers. I bet you have.
yeah, yes, that was the invasion, and which was from Jake's perspective.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't know if Jake is my favourite perspective to read from, but I do like him. Well, I like all of the characters. They, like, the one I was most reticent to get on board with was Marco, because, like, he just kind of grated me a bit in the first book, but, like, when you do get to see things from his perspective, I think he did grow on me.
yeah, I don't think I haven't had a problem with any of them yet. But this is like literally I've only encountered them this once.
Yeah. Well, like, Marco does for a bit keep up his whole, like, I don't want to do this stuff, and it's like, yeah, his reasons why are understandable, but, like, he should definitely know by now that there's no backing out.
Yeah. As I said, I've only had the encounter with this first story, so
Yeah. But I think by book 5, I think, is his first POV. By the end of that, things change a bit. I don't know, I can't remember which specific one it was. But yeah, book 2 is called The Visitor and takes place from, I believe, Rachel's perspective.
yes, it does seem to be Rachel's.
Yeah.
Those,
I remember liking that one.
Victor, did you get all the way over there? Yeah. Sorry. I was just looking for the Gutenberg list for Sherlock Holmes stories, so we could say what the next 3 stories were for that for next week. And it's halfway across my tabs bar, further along than it was last time I looked. And it's like, how many tabs have opened before it since last time we read it?
Yeah, I have that
2
exact
weeks
same
ago.
problem.
Yeah, but
I
yeah,
would sort of transform into a horseshoe crab and tell people to piss off just because it'd be funny to see people's reactions. No, you
Yeah,
pick up a
what
knife
I
in the
would-
claw as well while you did it. I know you.
Yeah. What I would quite like to do is, admittedly, it is an idea that I saw in a video about funny D&D characters, which is just a talking horse, doing something that a horse would not be doing. Like, you're just walking up to people in the middle of the night, knock with the hooves, wait for someone to come down and open the door and look at them, and then just say, "No one will believe you," and then just walk off.
Yeah. Although they don't actually
the-
have the power of speech in the Animorphs, they would have to telepathically project that message.
Yeah.
Which they
so
can
you
do.
telepathically project it, but you move your jaw as if you're talking.
Yeah. No
Just to
one
say-
will
just
believe
to-
you.
Yeah, but like the talking horse idea in D&D, why no one would believe you was the thing was because it was a rogue as well.
Yeah.
So it's a horse.
I think
that
I've
breaks-
seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. Which then reminds me of an Eddie Izzard sketch where it's just sort of like, yes, we've all seen horses doing dressage, just a bit of moving his arms as if they were moving her arms as if they were front legs. Yes, we've all seen that horse dancing, yada yada. What I want to see is horse safe cracking, horse breaking and entering
Yeah.
to then crack the safe. That's a sport I'd watch.
Yeah. So, what are the 3 Sherlock Holmes stories for next week for Tome Raider Classics?
Next week we have The Adventure of the 6 Napoleons, The Adventure of the 3 Students, and The Adventure of the Golden Pasnay.
Yeah. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this rundown and some thoughts on Animorphs the Invasion, as well as the various tangents we've gone off on.
How many did we go off on? 10, 15?
I lost count. Join us next week for those Sherlock Holmes stories, and in 2 weeks' time we will be covering Animorphs 2 The Visitor. Well, they don't number them off. No, they do number them off. So,
Yeah, which is a Rachel story, so
Yep.
that should be interesting, and hopefully they won't be making Friends jokes about the fact that one of the characters is called Rachel.
Yeah. Oh my god, Friends would have been contemporary at the time, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's set in 97, though it was released in 96, so I don't know how early it would have been into Friends or what it is. And honestly, I probably wouldn't notice if they made Friends jokes because I didn't particularly enjoy it, so I barely watched it.
Same, to be honest. Anyway, yeah, that's us. If you miss us before next Saturday, we will be back tomorrow night with Assassin Sunday, where we will be playing through the story of Ghost of Yote on New Game Plus.
Yeah, where we will be trying to cross names off of our little list
Yes.
of society
None of-
offenders.
None-
I will keep making that joke. I do not apologize.
I'm not stopping you. None of them be missed. Yeah.
They
Well,
never would be missed.
I would. I'll. Okay, we will see you next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, share it with your friends. If you didn't, share it with your enemies. We really don't care. And yeah, we will see you next week for Sherlock Holmes, or tomorrow night for Assassin Sunday. I also do Mafia Monday, Tombury Tuesday, Yakuza Like a Dragon, and Final Fantasy specifically with a different co-host. And yeah, all of that will be on this Twitch channel and on the Ollie Johnson Plays YouTube channel. And I think I'm going to re-upload this to the Facebook page that doesn't have enough followers to stream to yet. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. We will see you next time.